Authorities in Singapore have charged this teenager over a video he posted on YouTube. A 16-year-old Amos Yee slammed the country's founding father in an 8-minute tirade called "Lee Kuan Yew is finally dead." Among other things, he compared Lee to Mao Zedong and Adolf Hitler. Yee's father, seen here with him, has apologized to the prime minister. Police say that the video also contained disparaging remarks against Christians. Singapore has strict laws against religiously offensive comments. And critics say Yee's arrest highlights the country's restrictions on free speech. Let's bring in Bob Dietz. He is the Asia Program Coordinator for the Committee to Protect Journalists, and he joins us now live. And Bob, good to see you. I know that the CPJ has condemned the arrest, has called for authorities to free Yee, but I watched the clip, and this teenager, he's obviously smart. He's obviously taunting the government, almost daring the government to arrest him for what he's saying. So why did Singaporean authorities even bother to respond to this video, let alone arrest him?
That's a good question. I think it's a sensitive moment in Singapore right now with the death of former Prime Minister Lee. But I think there's more to this than just that. I think you have to, first of all, look at the charges of religious assault and religious criticism. I think those are the cover for a government still in an very authoritarian mode and wanting to suppress this sort of speech. And I think a lot of people found it really offensive, not just the government, frankly, but a lot of people in the public. No matter what you think of Lee Kuan Yew, I think you have to accept the fact that he was a popular leader in Singapore, and many people looked towards him with gratitude. To have a 17-year-old boy start a rant and go off the, well, not off the deep end, but make some very valid points, I think it hit home to a lot of people, and I think it hit home to a lot of people in the government as well.
But let's go on and talk about bloggers under threat in Bangladesh. We know in Bangladesh another blogger has been killed in broad daylight. His name, Washikar Rahman. He was killed, and he is one of 3 bloggers to be recently murdered in that country. Why are bloggers under attack there?
Well, 2 of these most recent cases were most likely carried out by people with a religious grudge. Both of those cases were bloggers who were either Christian or atheist or critical of Islam somehow. And I think what you're seeing in Bangladesh is really a growing intolerance towards people who would make critical, disparaging remarks of the Muslim faith. That said, Bangladesh has a very hostile attitude in general towards people making critical remarks of the government, of religion, or really stepping out of line of the official government parameters. Bangladesh is not a country where you see growing press freedom, let alone increasing space for bloggers to operate.
We have growing intolerance in Bangladesh. We have tight censorship rules and political sensitivity in Singapore. What's happening in Vietnam? Because bloggers are also under threat there. A few months ago, a high-profile political blogger was arrested at his home. A number of other high-profile bloggers have been arrested. What's happening in Vietnam?
As of December 31st, we had 16 bloggers in jail in Vietnam, and I think the number's gone up by 1 or 2. Possibly. Vietnam rapidly becoming one of the world's largest jailer of journalists and bloggers, despite the fact it has a relatively small population. I think what you're seeing, Christy, across the region is fewer and fewer mainstream journalists coming under the pressure of governments. Those people and the institutions behind them know what parameters within they have to play. But what you have now are that sort of public debate that used to be able to take place in media, in traditional media, has moved online. And that's where the real action, where the real criticism of government and criticism of the status quo is in many countries. And I think you're going to see more of that. Clearly, about 50% or more than 50% of the people in jail around the world are in because of some sort of online activity.